Uh, yes,
Yes,
we are
okay.
live.
Everybody, watch your language. Watch your language. We're live.
You guys get dressed, please. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is
And, and
crazy.
so it begins.
Yes. Well, and another episode of the Brent and Jeff show where it seems like every time I have you on, there's some audio problem. And again this morning, right on cue, I can hear you, but you can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
No. So anyway.
Yeah.
Guys, another episode of 7 Around 7 Friday morning. Good Friday morning. I'm out here, Southern California desert. 7:00. What time is it here?
7:02.
7:02. Okay.
7:02.
That young buck over there, the great Jeff Jacklich, I'm assuming no longer playing out of his van. Probably
Still in the Western Hemisphere.
Okay. So we have.
It's a beautiful morning here in Modesto.
Nice.
The north end of Modesto, right on the Stanislaus River.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Well, guys, look, a couple things before we get started. We're going to kind of pepper Jeff with what's going on with the post-Wilson World Classic tournament result experience epiphanies that he had, and maybe something that you can relate to as well. Before we get into that, guys, look, if you want to show your love and support for 7 Around 7, by the way, this is the 171st episode of 7 Around 7 in the last 173 days, Jeff. I'm not quite as good as Gold Ball Hunting, which was 365 plus days in a row. However, that wasn't a live show. We were actually kind of
true.
We're able to pre-record some stuff. But if you want to show your love for 7 Around 7, down below in the comments area, there's a link. Go buy a Web Tennis at YouTube t-shirt. Or for the ladies, there's a tank top there you can pick up.
Holy smokes.
And you'll also get a free complimentary stroke technique course. You can choose from 1 to 7. You may choose from 1 to 7. Guys, that's down below in the comments area. All right, so Jeffrey, let's get into it. The Wilson World Tennis Classic finished about, 2 weeks ago. You played both the singles and doubles.
Yeah.
And so give us some feedback. How'd it go?
Epiphany number 1. It is a crap ton of work.
Yeah. Well, and look, let me kind of tee it up too in terms of we had some serious heat that
the condition was brutal without a doubt. I mean, it was not just hot. Hot would have been mid 80s because then the tennis court is a heat sink. There's a point in the day where it can't absorb any more heat, and then it starts to reflect it, and that as the temperatures rise and you start getting into the mid to high 90s, that transition happens earlier in the day. Not to get overly technical, because at night the court doesn't lose all its heat. It's still holding on to some from the previous day, and day by day stacking that point in the day where that thing starts to just reflect the heat back happens earlier in the day. So there was a good, whatever it was, 4 or 5 days in a row where we were, mid 90s by 11 o'clock in the morning and noon, and that heat was already there.
Yeah.
So.
And I also wonder too if there was kind of a mindset tournament had 700 plus players. And I'm gonna say 90% of them have played that tournament before, and that tournament's always been played in January.
Yeah, last week of January.
So maybe people are thinking, I'm going to go play the Wilson, and I kind of remember what it's like. It's kind of like high 60s, maybe low 70s.
Yeah.
And then you get down there, and you're halfway through the first set. You've already changed the shirt twice. You're just pouring. You're just gushing. It's already 91 degrees. And then you got to go and you're going, I got to play doubles at 2. Right. And it's going to be 1,000,000 degrees then.
Yeah. Playing tennis on the sun.
Right.
I mean, it was just so that's the nature of that, which means if the ambient temperature, around the court is 95 and it's midday, the court temperature is easily 100 plus, 105 plus, maybe, depending on the court situation. Is it center court? Is it, if you're playing on center court, it could be a single court, and that's just capturing the heat and making it that much worse, So yeah, it was a really tough condition.
So let's start with that, because I know the heat did affect you. And like, you got to get in line, because you were not the Lone Ranger on that. I mean, there were a lot of guys a lot of guys who were retiring. A lot of guys just said, I can't do it. So your epiphany, your takeaway, because you're playing Irvine and you're playing the National 60 Hard Courts Irvine in early June. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, I played that tournament several times, and for whatever reason, it can get cooking. I mean, it seems like, oh, Irvine is by the beach. It's really nice. It's beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, I played that tournament where it's brutal. So, so what's your takeaway in terms of prepping for the possibility of some heat in Irvine?
There's a high probability I'm not going to play doubles. I'm just going to play singles.
Because of the heat, or just because
of that possibility? Well, that possibility of it being that hot. June, first week of June, obviously the potential is there to be low 90s easily. Just for me, and I don't know whether it's as I'm aging up, I'm more sensitive to that, and being able to, play two events, especially under those conditions. Had it been 75 degrees, I think it would have been a completely different story. So yeah, that's the main process, is that I'm looking at it kind of really kind of going, okay, listen, if I really want to, take a stab at this and really, make a run at it, then my best, is to conserve energy, conserve calories along the way, and be able to have better recovery every night. And just stay focused on the one agenda, so that's that. I mean, we had 3 days in a row where I was doubled up, and the conditions were tough. I mean, I was seated, so that was great, because I got a bye. So it was a 128 draw. There was probably 90 players maybe in it. So there were a lot of buys first round in a 128 draw. So just being seated wasn't, in terms of that. But I was fortunate enough that on the first round, which would have been second round of the event, I got a walkover. Guy called in and didn't make it. So Kywin, called me the day before, texted me the day before, and said, you're good. So I had a chance to go out and see my potential opponents play on Sunday afternoon, and it was ugly at 2:30 in the afternoon at Palm Valley Country Club. It was just horrific. I was so glad I wasn't on the court, and everybody was just dragging. It was just, everybody looked like they'd been, just soaked in just wet
as
rats.
As they say, whooped with the ugly stick.
Yeah. Rode hard and put away wet, as they say back in the West, right? Yeah. And so, so that was a good thing. I didn't have to play Sunday. Monday's match, guy was rough. Guy was good. Tall lefty, much better than I expected. And that came down to a bit of a battle of attrition. First set was 7-5, so I won that, I think, 7-5, 6-1. We were playing at Indian Wells, which added a little level of complexity to it, because there are some variables there that a lot of players just are not aware of, and they can't quite figure out why they're having trouble finding the court a little bit, or why is that guy tracking down that extra ball, or this, And so, those variables are, the courts are just hyper slow, hard courts. They grip the ball, they grip your shoes, they grip everything, So the ball kind of hangs up a little bit after the bounce, So it's very difficult to just drive a ball through the back end of the court. A lot of times it comes back just because that ball bites and it holds up a little bit. The other thing is that there is a slight back breeze from the south end of the court to the north end, kind of, and it's very subtle sometimes, even if it seems like it's dead air. that side of the court, you can drift the ball a little long sometimes because of that. Ball can hang in the air, and we're talking about desert air too, so a little thinner, a little, and it's hot. Balls, with that heat, highly compressed. So the ball it can tend to fly on you. I wouldn't recommend using, pen balls down there.
Well, look, I know that the 60 hard courts used to be played here at Mission Hills in April this time of year, and I just knew that I better get my rackets restrung at probably 3 to 4 pounds tighter, because it's hotter, and just like you described, the ball wants to take off.
Yeah, you don't want the ball lingering on the strings that long. You'll tend to fly it if you do. So and it was hot. I think my match was at 12:30. I think. So it was hot already. Just standing out there, it was like it's just this oppressive weight that just you feel it. And So the first match was, we warmed up, like I said, tall lefty guy, very nice guy. We had a great match. And I could tell by the end of the first set, the condition was starting to wear on him. And so at that moment, I really knew that all the gym work I had done leading up to this was where it was going to pay off. I was moving well, striking the ball well. He covered a lot of court. And right near the end of this first set, at 5-all, I could see he wasn't quite getting to the ball on those reaches. He wasn't doing as much with it. The ball was kind of hanging. He actually made some errors, some errors he hadn't made earlier in the match. And so I broke and held, I think. And I could just tell that it was. He was feeling it way more than I was.
What you're thinking there, Jeff? I mean, you're going through the first set. It's 5-all. The guy's a good player, and he's kind of holding his own against you. And then you start to get this inkling that I think this guy's starting to the conditions are starting to get to him. What you're thinking then in terms of, I mean, this. I think a lot of players will go, well, God, I just got to get the ball back and play. I just got to do this, got to do that. What's kind of does your strategy change once you see a guy starting to suffer over there, or do you just keep kind of banging away with whatever's working?
What I didn't do is, I just need to push a ball back. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Basically, because you just end up, you lose your timing, you lose your feel of the ball, you lose your kind of confidence in hitting your shots. And so that's a really dangerous path to take. And if we've seen matches on television where a guy comes up a little ankle injury, a little something, he's limping around, he has a game or two where he's kind of okay, and he's kind of starts to go for it because he knows he can't run really well, but the other guy starts to back off a little bit. Next thing you know, the guy with the twisted ankle wins the set or wins the match because the other guy backed off instead of doing what he's supposed to do. So for me, I didn't back off. What I did do though is the only thing I did back off on was a little bit of pace. And I thought, just keep hitting your patterns. And so I just kept doing that, and kind of just to run him, just to keep having him feel like he can get to the ball and keep using fuel. So I jumped out to, I think, a fairly quick 4-0 lead in the second set. And what I did was, like I said, I just backed off the pace a little bit and just made sure I was making my just standard rally balls. I was hitting my standard patterns. I didn't try to overcrank anything, like get out of the point quick or anything like, I got him on the ropes, I should now just hit the big winner. And so none of that was like part of my process. And it was just like, no, just stick with what you're doing right now, because he's going to take care of the rest of it if I just keep doing what I'm doing.
That's a tough thing to trust, right? Is that
right.
Step it up and win the point on my own terms. How can I trust this guy will participate in me winning points? Right.
And so that was, and I think a big part of that clarity comes with conditioning, right? So if you're struggling as well, and it just sucks to be out there because of the heat and the conditions, and you don't want to be there either, it's really difficult to have the clarity to stick with the game plan or adjust your plan a little bit to something, that stays positive and in a way that you're still going to end up with a victory. A lot of guys, though, you're not clear because you're feeling the pain just as much. Maybe you haven't put in the work, and so the condition now is affecting you just as much as it's affecting him. Somehow you manage to slide through the first set, and now it's kind of it's up for grabs, And so I think for me, the conditioning part of it also gives you the clarity in those tougher moments because you're not as beat down as your opponent, maybe in those where the conditions aren't. You have no control over those conditions, be it cold, wind, whatever it might be. And this just happened to be a week of, heat.
Yeah. All right. So you end up winning this thing 5-1.
Yeah.
And you got to play a guy who beat you up pretty well. It was a great match a few years ago.
Yeah.
Same place at Indian Wells.
At Indian Wells. Yeah.
That's right. This time, in fact, that year when you lost a very close match, it was straight sets, and the guy you lost to went on to win the tournament, as I recall.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what round you played him in. I don't know. It was the 16s or the quarters.
I played him in the I played him in the 16s.
All right. So you guys play a tough match. I watched that match. I think you had some set points in that second set tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Or you were very close. I can't remember.
I think the match was 5. I think it was 5-6.
It was 5-6. So now you go out and you play the same guy in the round of 16, I think it was. And
yeah, as a matter of fact, that's right.
Ironically, and there's got to be, I would think, unless you'd seen him play a lot in the last year or so, and I don't think you had. So you're playing a guy that the last time you played him, you lost 5-6, close match. He goes on to win the gold ball in that tournament. Is there any kind of lingering kind of going, this guy has my number, or this guy knows what to do against me, or is there a thought of I'm going to do something different, or I've been working harder than I was working back then? What's going through your mind before you play a guy? And by the way, I'm going to spill the beans, and because I think it's important to hear the prep of the match. You tuned this guy. Was it 1-1?
1-1.
1-1.
Yeah.
So you go through them 1-1. So let's back up before the 1-1 and what you're thinking about. Because I can think, I was thinking to myself that morning you're going out there, I just going, I hope there's no lingering effect from that match they played a few years ago where he's going, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, on the again, the conditioning side, the work I put in the gym, I was already feeling like, all my practice sets leading up to it, and then, even playing the first round, I'm moving well. The comments from the guy I played, the lefty I played were, as he was making comments to some friends that were watching the match, like after the first set, like he was making comments up to the, who was it? Marty Hines and some others. And he goes, "He's not tired, is he?" And they just shook their heads and goes, no. He's going to keep running, isn't he? Yeah. So anyway, so that was, that's a good indicator. But I was fortunate enough on Sunday, the day I got the bye, because I looked at the draw and I could see that, I had he was in my quarter. And he was playing that day, that Sunday. It was an unfortunate first round match for both players. So he was playing the guy I played in the finals, who was a 9th seed, the finals of Vegas. And so fortunately, I was supposed to play at that same time at 2:45 in the afternoon, right? And so fortunately, I got the walkover. So I got to go watch that, that most of that match. And, so I got to see them both perform under those conditions. And the guy I played in Vegas ultimately lost the match 6-3 in the third. So I got a chance to watch him move and see what he was doing. And I just felt good about going into the match. I didn't have anything like, oh, this guy's got my number. Cause I really understood where I was when I lost to him. and that was my first tournament back. It's not an excuse. It's just that match play was not under my belt. I had a good win the day before, and I showed signs of really good quality, but then it was just so many unforced errors and just this combination of just not being match tough, mentally being not really sharp mentally, just because of lack of match play. I would put the bulk of the doubt in that first match, that just not having enough sets under my belt and tournament match play, as the biggest factor, and just being unclear, and the excitement of playing singles again. And there was a lot of other, let's say, smaller variables in the first one. I mean, Dave played well, and he deserved the win for sure. But I just, there was just a lot. I was just, trying to immediately step back into this thing and figure out where I was, So, but anyway, but this last week, I was very confident with how I felt. I felt confident with my pattern work, how to construct the points against him, drop shotting, all of it. I just felt really confident with it because, again, I got to see him play on Sunday, and I just kept executing. I just kept my head down and just stayed on course, stayed on course. I won the first set and went, okay, let's do it again. And those are the moments, I think, that are the hardest in matches like that. Are, you come out, you have a really strong first set, and now you have to do it again. And that's a really tough, that can be a stick in the spokes for players.
Was there any thought when you win the first set 6-1, the guy had beaten you a few years before in straight sets, now you win the first set 6-1, and you go, all right, you're looking around, when's the hammer going to drop here?
Yeah, when's he gonna, gonna like up the game a little bit? And I'd say, there were times in the second set where he did play a little better. He hit some balls, and the thing is, you can't. I didn't panic under. He came up with some great passing shots, some touch and go games, a lot of deuces, and then I'd get the break. Even on my serve, I think there was one service game in the second set. I might have been down 5-40, possibly even love 40, and so without having again, I'm going to go back to the fitness part of it. The fitness part of it just gives you the opportunity to stay present tense just a little bit more. I just felt like, it was hot again. Uncomfortable. I know certainly he didn't want to be out there, because his match on Sunday was just a little slice of hell on earth. I mean, 3 sets, and so I just felt like I don't even know if he's fully recovered from that, even though he played and won the next round fairly easily. I just felt like I don't know if he how eager is he to be out here,
Yeah.
And so I just, for me, again, it came down to that, just that clarity of just do the work, Jeff. Just keep doing the work. There's nothing to change here. There's nothing to adjust to. He's a really tall guy, has a lot of range, so it covers the court well. But I just, the clarity of just staying the course and not eagerly looking for an exit in the points, so he, forcing him to hit that one extra ball, and a lot of times that came up as my shot tolerance was just better than his, where he would get to that point, and I could tell that the type of shot he was trying to hit was he was looking for an exit, and so
nice job.
That for me is another indicator when I like. When you're playing a guy, does that seem to happen around the same time in every point? Is it around ball 4 or 5? Is it around ball 6 or 7? A lot of times you don't get that far on a point, but sometimes that is the nature of the beast. There's not, we've talked about the numbers before. It's not all 0 to 4. There are matches that the bulk of the points are almost 50-50, 0 to 4 and 5 to 8. And the 5 to 8 can become the category that becomes the most important category if it's tight like that, because that's the category where you might actually discover the shot tolerance. Where is this guy and where does he really go off the rails? And so for me, I kind of felt like, if I just stay, even on tough shots that, that he had the advantage on. If I just track it down, shove it back, come up with something,
Right.
am I going to get a look at something better on the next ball? And a lot of times that happened.
Yeah, I think, well, that's a big deal. I think if you can show your opponent, even if the conditions are just terrible, that you're willing to out hustle whatever he's hitting and just throw it back at him and just make him go for it. Just make him think, I got to do something bigger. So, well, that's a great win. I was actually mildly surprised, not at the win, but at the score. And
me too.
And he might have been too. So now you're in the quarters, and you got to play the number 2 seed Mike Federley, which fortunately was an early morning match. That was an 8 a.m. match over at Shadow Mountain.
Yeah, it was.
So the conditions were heating up early in the day, but fortunately it wasn't like a high noon type of start.
Yeah.
But
I would say this, as we started at 8:00. By the end of the first set, it was on.
It was cooking. It was cooking. No question. Well, look, and I think when you play a guy of that quality, that there's a little extra stress, even if and you were up a break early. I think you broke him the first game of the match, as I recall. I can't remember.
I may have.
And but the point is that there's still a level of stress that maybe there wasn't in the previous matches. That for me, what I've found is when I'm playing one of the top guys, I find like in the beginning, I've got to really make sure that whatever stress I'm feeling or whatever tension or nerves, that really I'm just thinking about how can I between points really dial it down. And because I know that if we get into a barn burner today, and if I'm going to be out here for the duration, that the last thing I want to do is burn a bunch of fuel in the first 30 minutes, the first 20 or 30 minutes. So anyway, so take us through that match.
So, and then, a pre-setup too, as well as now I've got 2 doubles matches under my belt as well, leading into that. So I've had now 2 days now, where 2 days in a row now where I've had 4,000 plus calorie burn days.
Which if you're not playing tournaments on a regular basis, is your body's kind of going,
there's no recovery,
bro. Okay. All right.
Yeah, there's no recovery to speak of anyway, that feel, at least for me. And again, I may just be getting a little more sensitive to that condition itself, at 61. I don't know. It could be. And again, it could be just I'm not quite in that fit factor yet that can handle both. Close, but can handle both. So anyway, get out there, warming up. Feel good. It's fresh. Striking the ball well, and we get going. And in my head, I've got my strategy, how I'd like to construct points, what I think, and then of course you got to see if that reality is actually a reality, right? You've seen the guy play, you start to execute, and how long is he going to do what he does? How long are you going to do what you do before somebody starts to feel like they need to make adjustments?
Right.
And I felt like, in the first set, I felt like I actually, I got him to make some adjustments, and those adjustments were good. He, obviously Mike Federley's a seasoned, 20 gold ball winner maybe or something. He's been on the U.S. team over and over and over again. So he's not going to roll over and, oh, you got me today, Jeff. That's not going to happen,
Really?
So you got to respect that, that when you start playing the better players in the tournament, you've got to respect the fact that they're going to keep working on making adjustments until they find something that can equalize the match or somehow get a foothold in what's going on. They're not going anywhere. So I felt really good about that. I think I got out to a 5-2 lead in the first set. I think the way I was constructing points, tactically what I was doing was exactly right. There was nothing about it right now that I would go back and change, actually. And then on that changeover, that's when the heat started to, again, pick up again. And I could actually feel my fingertips, a little tingly. It was a little woozy on that changeover. And I kind of lost, again, this is where, the conditioning and being able to focus comes heavily into play. And I kind of lost my way a little bit and lost the next 2 games. And just played kind of 2 loose games where I felt I was having this, like, all of a sudden I felt like, I felt drained. And then I managed on the next changeover. I said, okay, you really need to, get cool and, take the drink. And so I managed to really focus and keep it together. And I think I broke him for the first set. And then he came out and he broke me right out of the gate going into the second. And then he stayed up a break all the way through the second set to 5-4 with him serving for the second set. And that whole second set, it was not getting any better. I could feel just the weight of the heat was building as the match now, because this was not a quick 2 sets. This was, it was easily, I think, over 2 hours, I believe. Just for the 2 sets. So it just, now I'm trying to, now it starts to get challenging because I'm trying to manage how crappy I feel, with trying to manage winning this match. Right. And, trying to get out in 2 sets, obviously. And then honestly, the thoughts are coming into my head, you know what, I could win this, and I don't even know if I could play tomorrow, much less my semifinal double that afternoon. And so now that's when when you're feeling that beat up, that's when the mental gymnastics really come into play, and you're really having these conversations in your head. And it's way beyond, did I leave the iron on? It's not just like I just can't seem to focus today. You are in this conversation that's in your head that is like, God, the cafe's right there. Wouldn't a bath of Gatorade just feel really great right now? Just ice cool orange Gatorade, just laying in it would just be like fantastic, right? And so you really battle yourself in those instances. And so I felt good about the fact that I managed to keep it together. So I broke back at 5-all and held serve. So now he's serving at 5-6. I got it to 30-all, and lost my way. Thought about doing something on the return, and I'm a little tired, so I'm not going to be on it. And just the clarity of just saying, you know what, bust your ass and try and put every return up the middle of the court. And if he smacks a winner, so be it. But I didn't do that. I lost a little focus there. I think I missed that return. And then I may have made the next return and just played a poor point. I think I was probably disappointed that I was just being such a knucklehead on the 30-all point. Because that 30-all point is a massive, massive point in that moment in the match. That's huge. You have to put a ball on the court. There's no other way to write it down and come up with some other solution.
If you have to, bunt it over with the handle, you got to do it, because he's got so much pressure serving at 5-6, 30-all, second set. If he loses this point, it's now match point for you. So, I've been in that situation, and I've done the same thing too, where I've thought, all right, I've got an opportunity here. Maybe I should kind of ramp it up and kind of go for something. And finally someone said, man, at that point, you got to make him play. You have to force him to play. And if he gives you a fat, chubby opportunity, fine. Then you can get maybe a little offensive with it. But the chances that probably are not going to happen. And so you got to force them to play. And so, I mean, I remember watching that point, just kind of going, oh no,
Right.
no,
Right.
don't do that. And,
right. Yeah. You and me both.
right. So, all right. So,
but that's there we are though. That's where, again, the clarity comes into play. Now here's a nugget, right? Is that if you're in your first set and you're clear and the conditions are fine and you're making those decisions, you need to step back and really get clear about what's important at that moment. If you're making what I did under those conditions, feeling like I was going to toss my lunch at any moment, and you're making that decision when you don't have those conditions, you need to step back and really reassess, and really start doing some different kind of work on the court in your practice sets about return to serve and clarity of the moment, and get down to the brass tacks of what needs to get done. I mean, that doesn't give me a pass by any stretch of the imagination, but those are the variables though that affect the clarity of thinking. In that.
Well, that's a takeaway. That's an aha moment for you. That's an epiphany that goes, hey, I'm playing one of the top guys in the world in my age group.
Yeah.
And I'm 2 points away. And a lot of that, I think, comes down to trust. Do I trust that if I just throw the sucker back right up the third of the court, and even if it lands short, make him not be tight, make him come up with the goods, and let's see. Because how many times have we thrown a ball up the middle of the court, sits up about 3 feet behind the tee, and the guy butchers it? I mean, I've seen great players butcher that thing, right? So,
yeah. So that's again, welcome to competition, and welcome to playing at the upper levels, and welcome to the moments that count. And so, so he wins the serve. Now it's 6-all. We play the breaker. And at that point, I just couldn't keep it together. So I lose the breaker 7-4, I think. And I could just feel it was like, I mean, I really had to think about it as I was walking toward the net. Are you actually done? And it was at that point, it was very clear to me, like, okay, I can try and push through this third set, but I just don't have any gas in the tank. And, do I want to spend the next 4 days at Eisenhower Hospital in Palm Springs? And the answer to that was no, of course. And so I just walked up to the net and stuck my hand out and said, Mike, thank you very much, but the wise decision right now is for me to stop playing. Because I'm gonna do something really stupid here, and so I just called it good.
Yeah, good. So you've had some time since that match to probably do. I mean, I think you came away with some clarity about how to play someone like him.
Yeah,
about how your style and what you've got to do to be able to play someone like that. Obviously, you're super close to one of the top guys in the world in your age group, just not in the United States, but in the world. And so it's probably less, the takeaway I would think would be less about, well, here's what I need to do in terms of tactics and shot choices and this kind of thing and court positioning. And it's more about what do I have to do fitness wise to really take it to a level, because that was the quarterfinals. And if you happen to win that second set, you throw that 30-all ball, that 30-all return, and he butchers it, and then he double faults. Thank you very much. Match is over. Now you're in the semis, and the competition, the semis, gets equally as good, if not a little better. So, well, if you're going to win the thing, to me, it really gets back to what I think you've been talking about the whole time, Jeff, which is fitness. And is it really, in your mind, does it come down to doing more of what you were doing prior, continuing to do the same thing, and maybe you just didn't have enough time leading up to the tournament? Is it tweaking the fitness thing and doing something a little different than what you've been doing?
Yeah. So first, I'm not sure like I said earlier, if I'd won the match. I mean, because I went out to the courts the next morning. I mean, because I had to play doubles that afternoon after I lost to Mike, and I went back to the condo and just felt like crap for the next 2.5 hours. I mean, literally, I was just drinking electrolytes and had a plain turkey sandwich and just plain food, and just I had to get fuel back in my system. I took a couple of showers, laying down, felt uncomfortable, just couldn't. It's just this. It's the sensibility that your body just wants to get out of itself, and just like, can I just put that over there? Let it just crumple in the corner, just like, you just sit over there for a while. Because, so it's just really, it just felt uncomfortable for the next 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and then we had to go back out at 3 o'clock for our quarterfinal doubles match. And so, got out there, and just by the time 3 o'clock rolled around, we got over there at the courts around 1:45. I started to kind of feel like myself again, and then got out there, got warmed up, and surprisingly, I played really well. But doubles, half the court. But there were times, in that match that where there was some points where I was really. That sun keeps beating through. There we go.
Good.
Where it was a longer point maybe, and I had to run back to the baseline and come back up to the net and that kind of thing. And it was just like, oh, God, I'm going to collapse, right? So anyway, we get through that. We won that match. But then, the next morning I went out to see the beginning of the semifinal with Mike and Mike Fairley and Peter Marks from Texas. And I was just like paying attention to, how do I feel right now physically? How do I feel? And I'm looking at them on the court going, I made the right decision, because I wouldn't have had anything for that, for the semifinal that would have been kind of almost worthy of being there. I don't know how much, mentally I would have been able to like pull it together and see what I can do under these conditions. Because it was already hot. It was crappy. And I was like happy to be done. I mean, disappointed that I couldn't get it across the finish line, of course, but at the same time, it was like, okay, I got a lot of stuff here at the takeaway. I played well. I've got everything in my toolbox is pretty good. I feel very good about my toolbox, what I have access to, my ability to construct points, as you said, all the that part of it, I feel very good about. And I think, would 3 or 4 more weeks in the gym have made a difference? Maybe under those conditions. But like I said, I'm not sure whether I'm just more sensitive to it as I'm aging up now. Because again, those were extreme conditions. So going into Irvine, so actually we'll go back again a little bit. We lost the semifinal match in doubles the next day. Tight 3-setter, 6-4 in the third, and by the time we got around to the third, again, I was gassed by the time we got up a break in that third set, and again, couldn't get it across the finish line, and I was pretty well gassed by the end of that set. Just, nothing to go with. So the next 4 days, obviously, you didn't touch a racket, didn't touch a ball. Tried to recoup, and then the following week, I coached, but I didn't play and I didn't go in the gym. I gave myself all of last week off from that. And then this last Sunday, whatever date that is, was day one to get back in the gym and to start playing again. And so back in the gym now. Today, I haven't been in the gym yet because we started so early, but I'll be in the gym today. So this will be day 6 in a row of doing my routine, kind of getting my body back into it. And I started the first 3 days lighter than what I had finished with going into the tournament. Again, giving my body a chance just to get, okay, here we go again, and letting it go through all the moves and do everything without thinking, okay, we're just going to, jump into this and charge full steam ahead. I don't think my body would have liked that. So I kind of eased into it again. Lower reps on the jump rope, lower tension on the shoulder work and on the sidestepping. So now, though, yesterday I bumped back up again. I felt like my body, it was just an internal feeling. I got in there and went, okay, you know what, let's see, and just started doing it. And it was like, okay, everything's good. The body's ready to, get into this. Tuesday played doubles. That was challenging because you realize how much work it takes to play at a certain level. And you got to get your mind wrapped around that. So Tuesday for me was kind of like a little bit of a venting day. I think I still had some residual from Palm Desert, from the Wilson, that had to get out of my system. So I was a little angsty, a little testy on Tuesday.
Okay.
Striking the ball fine, mostly, but just kind of like just the ebb and flow of it. We played doubles and it was fine. But again, that reality of playing, and then you're in it, and the physicality of it, and you're doing it, and then you kind of got to go, oh yeah, okay, we got to do this all again. Irvine is now 5 weeks away. Okay, and so your mind you got to get your mind wrapped around again this, because you're trying to do this and crescendo at the tournament. And then you got to take a little break, and then you kind of drop a little bit, and then okay, we're gonna wind it up again, and okay, we got to get up there again.
So did you have any when you left the desert after the tournament and had a few days to reflect on what had taken place there, and knowing that you're about to play Irvine in 2 months?
Yeah.
Was there any thought like, God dang, man, for me to have to take it to that next level, which is to get through that quarterfinal match with a Mike Federley, and then be able to go out and play a Peter Marks the next day, and then play a Bill Moss? Did you come away with any thoughts like, I'm not sure I want it that bad? Or did it, and I've had both of these. Both of these kind of responses to tournaments. Or you come away, you just go, son of a gun. I want this thing more than I thought I did. And now what a great epiphany to feel or to have. I can't wait to get back to it. Right.
I think initially, probably Tuesday playing, I had more of that battle going on while I was playing, and it was like, God, do I really care? Do I really give a crap?
Yeah.
And for me, the give a crap comes down to, I like being on the tennis court. I like playing. For me, it's part of my you might say artistic expression, letting part of me out, that it is me expressing myself, and so like Sunday when I jumped back in the gym, I felt better physically, mentally. I felt like it feels good. I felt like my kind of kicked my metabolism in, and so I had better sleep that night than the previous week of not playing and just coaching and just like trying to be being in limbo a little bit. And then Monday again, hit the gym, and it's like, there it is. And I spent 5 hours on the court on Monday, coaching, and it was a long day. But again, it was like, I felt like just clarity in the mind and all that from being in the gym again. And then Tuesday, playing and then getting in the gym. So after playing, I was in that little like, yeah, really? And then actually when I got in the gym, it kind of like that work, it's like, there's a point, and this is me. For me, getting in the gym initially is not like, ooh, I just can't wait to get in there. I don't have that. But once I do get in there and that first pull, I know I won't stop until I've done the whole workout. I won't quit. I won't like, oh, okay, that's good enough for today. I won't do that. Mm-hmm. And so once I get in there, then I have a little more clarity about it. And that Tuesday afternoon, after I actually worked out in the gym, I went, okay, we can do this. And do you want to do it? And I kind of went, yeah, I'm in. And so there is that. I mean, if you're not being honest in your own assessment after tournaments and giving yourself a chance to reflect, physically, how do I feel? What are the things I need to work on? And so don't kid yourself thinking that I need to hit my forehand better if you're getting anxious at ball 3 to get out of the point. You're barking up the wrong tree if you think that's the solve for that kind of thinking. So I know for a fact, like without question, without doubt, that the conditioning for me is going to be the major detail that pushes this over the edge. Will the next 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks be enough for Irvine? We're going to find out. I know I feel really good about anybody I get in the early rounds. Again, there's always guys that you don't know that show up and they used to be great players. Now they decide to play again, and there you go, you get it. I mean, the guy who played first round at Indian Wells was like, that guy could play ball. So for me, that is the key is going to be that, because everything I do when I finish the gym and I start to feel that strength again, even comments from people around me, just like, Jeff, God, your shoulders are back. They're like, just posture naturally is improving. And so all of that is going to affect the way you hit the ball. Like there's no question about it. Better posture means better footwork, which means stability at contact, better spacing, all those little wonderful things that we'd like to have happen every time we hit a tennis ball will only be enhanced as your fitness improves. So if you look at your, the physicality and look at yourself and kind of go, am I, what can I do? What's physically tangible that I can do to change what I have right now? Can I get stronger? Yes. Can I get faster? Yes. And faster or quicker, you decide which word is the right word to use in that, yes, you can. If you're carrying around an extra 20 pounds or 10 pounds even, yeah, you're going to be faster if you take the 2 5-pound ankle weights off and put them on the side. You're going to be faster, like without a doubt, right? So what are those things? Do you need to do, is there a physical, is your knee a little tweaked? Is your shoulder a little this? What can you do to bring those things back into, are you doing the work that actually gives you access to having a broader range of motion, to strength on all those small muscles? I mean, when I played on Tuesday, the good thing about Tuesday was that my serve was like, shoulder was pretty solid. Could feel a little bit, but it was like, damn, that was good. So I know on my serve is going to be that much more. I can count on it. I know I'm going to be jacking the kick serve even that much more, and definitely I'm gaining a mile an hour, maybe 2. So I'm looking again between now and Irvine to have to grab another 2-3 miles an hour on my serve, hopefully. Yeah. And I think that's possible. Yeah. And I think that will that makes a big difference on, for me being able to serve and volley a few more times, get in and out of the point quick, and that. But I think, anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, as you
rambling. I'm rambling here.
No, it's good. You and I had a lengthy chat yesterday afternoon, and one of the things we talked about was the difference between where you're at right now with your tennis game as opposed to where someone else, that maybe some of the guys that you're coaching are at with their tennis game. And, if we're talking about guys in your age group getting ready to go down to play Irvine, in whatever that is, 4 weeks or 5 weeks, something like that, 6 weeks. I think a guy who knows that I'm not going to probably beat any of the seeded players in Irvine. I'm not going to get past a certain round probably unless I have a really favorable draw. So maybe, and you just brought this up, maybe I should be working on technique. Maybe I should be, really trying to get my forehand better. And I think that's a big mistake. I think first first of all, if you're entering the tournaments and you're good enough to win a round, your strokes are probably good enough at this point to where if you were to dive into fitness, if you were to lose every one of those pounds that you don't need, and maybe discover, God dang it, I used to, when I was in college, I was at, some weight, and that now I'm 25 pounds over that. Let me maybe get back to that college weight. Well, get back to the college weight, and maybe you start to go, hey, well, at 65 years old, I can actually lose a few more pounds and be a lot healthier and be a lot quicker, just feel better, have that clarity in the court.
Yeah.
But my recommendation would be, just because you think you're not as good as a 5.0 plus Jeff Jacklich in terms of skill level, that you need to be working on technique to be able to get there. And I do agree that there's some technique tweaking that should probably be done with everybody. And that is really, in my mind, it's simplifying. Can you continue to simplify stroke technique so much that it really becomes a no-brainer?
Yeah.
But as you're doing that, if you're in denial about fitness, then I don't think there's any hope. I just don't.
Well, I think is any, if you look at the if you like departmentalize yourself as a player, and okay, technique, and if you even broke down all the strokes, and okay, forehand, okay, backhand, I can do this, I can do that, I can, you run out this this chart, right, a spreadsheet, right, and then you get to fitness, and you kind of go, okay, cardio, okay, strength, okay, how are my shoulders, how are my knees, how am I, you break it all down and look at it. What's tangible? What are you being honest with yourself about? What is something that I actually have control over that will have an absolute effect on my ability to do these things: the forehand, the backhand, the volley, the overhead, can I hit 8 quality balls in a row in the court, right? If you're not being honest about that, then I can guarantee you the better players will simply just stick with patterns and just run you into the ground. I mean, there's just no, I can tell you that for a fact. There's just no escaping that reality, that the ability and the comfort and not feeling pressured to do anything except just going to cut this ball back into the corner and let this guy until he just can't stand it anymore and let him just have his head explode, because he can't stay with it, so. And I can tell you this for, again, a fact, that as I was doing that work pre-Wilson, and we had talked about it in a couple shows, I think, that I could tell week by week how the fitness was starting to affect my ability to construct points, my ability to see things clear, my ability to focus clear, my ability to stay focused for a lengthy period of time. I started playing a couple of practice sessions where we just played 3 sets. It wasn't about who won the first 2 or 3 sets, or if you won 2, then we're done. No, it was like, no, we're playing 3 sets. And so that'll be part of my agenda going into Irvine, is as I get closer to the tournament, probably the last 2 weeks of April, I will start playing, have sessions where I will play 3-set sessions. And so right now I just checked, it's 5 weeks. 5 weeks to go. To get on it. So I will have had, when we get there, have had 6 weeks of fitness under my belt, additional.
Look, I think one of the misconceptions that players who aren't at your skill level have, who can win a round or 2 in a category 1 or a super category 2, is they think that, well, for me to be able to compete with the Jeff Jackliches out there, I need to really be able to improve stroke technique to a point that I'm hitting the ball at a much higher ball speed or a much higher quality, whatever. And the reality to me is, no, what you need to be doing is you need to be getting so fit that your rally ball up the middle third of the court becomes 99 out of 100 times. You can make this, because the fitness thing, if you don't have the fitness component down, then your spatial distance away from that incoming ball, even if you're going to hit a rally ball, is going to be inconsistent. And then you are improvising stroke technique on a rally ball. So
right, you're compromised. There's a point where you're compromised, and I from playing last winter, playing Oakland and playing Vegas, and even though I won those two tournaments, they gave me very good clarity about my physicality and what was going on, and like, okay, this is not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. And so that's when, I said, okay, here we go. Let's get going here. And it took longer for me to get in the gym, because I was really I came back from Vegas and I was like ready to get in the gym and go and prep for the Wilson at the end of January. And then I think around mid-November, Kywin sent out the email saying we're postponing it out. And then it kind of deflated me, because I was like, I had matches under my belt and I was like ready to go. And I kind of went, I don't really feel like getting in the gym today because this is like so far away. Right. But there's just, I can't even, I don't have enough words to explain that the fitness aspect of it. And again, fitness, functional, I'll put it this way, functional fitness that applies to tennis. If that's your focus, you've got to come up with a plan that 45 minutes on the elliptical is not going to do it. That's a waste of time. You've got to find those things that are applicable and that actually functionally translate to being on a tennis court. So for me, I know if I want to serve and volley more, my shoulders need to be stronger. I need to gain back a few miles an hour on my serve. My shoulders being stronger means I get to be a little more accurate with my placement longer in the match. So all those, as little incremental as that seems, they make massive differences under match play conditions.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, here's I think so I can just see someone out there right now going, okay, you guys, you convinced me on the fitness thing. I got to up it. I'm doing a little bit right now, but got to shed those extra pounds, got to do this, got to do that. I will tell you that the fitness thing, once you decide to get committed to doing it, that you're not going to feel great. You're not going to feel like you go out and you do your 60 minutes of conditioning and fitness and go, wow, I just feel like, man, I could play about 5 sets today. The next day, you're probably going to feel kind of sluggish and tired.
Yeah.
And look, for me, I know that when I now know, I didn't know before when I started getting into fitness and then trying to actually play some sets, and I'd play like crap in the sets because I couldn't move because I was so beat up from the fitness training that I would get frustrated. And I finally realized, well, wait a minute. You should be a little beat up. You should not be moving too well. That's part of the program. And it gets down to, are you willing, if you're going to work your butt off today on the fitness thing, off the court or on the court, whatever, and then go out and play a guy who you normally beat tomorrow. And the next thing you know is you've lost the first 2 sets. Do you have the guts to be okay and say, that's part of fitness? That's part of being able to do the work, is to come out for tomorrow and not play great, probably have a practice match loss to this guy. Would I be doing all this fitness training today if I had my play in the semis of a national category 1 tomorrow? Of course not. You wouldn't be doing it then. No. But you've got to figure out that when you train hard, it doesn't show up for a while.
Yeah.
In fact, your performance in the court takes a hit. So,
if you're consistent, right? So for what I'm doing it 5-6 days a week, because I'm not lifting weights. It's all band work and tension work. And it took 3-4 weeks in is when I started. I could start to feel just like I finished and I just went, wow, that was kind of interesting. It was then that I kind of noticed, like, wow, okay, I kind of okay,
right.
This is starting to actually apply.
Yeah.
It's starting to actually have an effect, And then again, as you said, your body has to get used to what you're doing. And it's going to take some time for that to happen, which is why I always recommend, don't get in there the first week and decide to conquer the world. Just light weights, depending on what your system is, what you're going to do, is get your body used to the movements for a week or so. Then, okay, now we're going to increase a little bit, and just like, okay, there it is, and just do that. And you have to trust that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks out that we're going to be at a place different than where we started. And then that's when, hopefully on the tennis court, you start to notice certain things that you're a little more patient in a point. You're a little more clear about, what to do. You're starting to make that lower volley more often, because physically you can just get down to it a little bit better. You can be a little more stable at contact. And that word right there is a massive quality that you must have.
Sure.
In consistent ball striking, being stable at contact. I don't give a crap if it's open stance, closed stance, 1 foot, because I've hit plenty of balls off my right leg being posted up on it and bang, hit it. It's irrelevant. Are you stable at contact? Because if you're not, we got a problem. That's exactly where your stroke then becomes compromised, and your ability to hit a standard rally ball consistently by the end of the second set, that becomes an issue. So the fitness will only increase that ability to be stable at contact, no matter what your technique is. And that's a big thing that I'm working with all of my players right now, is because I can just tell them just from physical experience that I'm striking the ball so much better, so much more consistently, because I just feel comfortable on my feet, and I just feel like I'm solid as a rock when it comes time to actually making contact with the ball.
That's good. Well, Jeffrey, we're $1.06 into it.
Wow.
Should we take a little 2-minute break, come back for the next hour?
Let's go.
So we also discussed another topic, which I'm not going to get into today. But I just want to kind of leave it out there as a little bit of a tease. And there's something about players who are learning the game, senior players who are starting to pick up the game, let's say in their mid-30s, or let's say they dabbled a little bit as a kid, but never really played. Certainly was never a junior player, never a college player, never dabbled on the tour or something like that. And really just starting to kind of get into it, 35, 45 years old, something like that, as an adult, as opposed to learning the game when you're a kid, and you're just, you're pretty much stupid as a kid. Your brain dead. You don't know how to analyze anything. You don't know how to intellectualize the forehand stroke technique, right? All that you know how to do as a kid is going, oh, well, Jimmy over there I kind of like that forehand. So let me see what that feels like, without analyzing it.
Right.
And so I think what we do as adults, when we didn't play as kids and didn't learn things as kids, that we spend way too much time trying to pick apart intellectually what's going on. And we bring this social crap along with it, like, well, gosh darn it, I want to figure this out because I don't want to look like an idiot out there trying to copy someone else. But I still think that as teaching pros, we do way too much talking, and we don't do enough. Let me show you how to hit a forehand, and then just tell the student, in the famous words of Bill Murray in Stripes, now do what I do. And I can't remember the next part of it, but I know you know. And I just think, Jeff, that we need to get adults to not think about breaking technique down, but just mimic that guy, copy that guy, model that guy, imitate whatever you think he's doing or she's doing. I mean, why can't you take an Erica Smith forehand, which is one of the loudest things I've ever heard?
Just
yikes. And just have a guy out and maybe she's there. She's just hitting forehands all day long. And you're telling the guy, just do what she does.
Just do that.
Just do it. Right. And don't think how to do it. Don't think what are the different parts. I don't know. What do you think?
I totally.
Do you think as adults that we just spend way too much time?
I think somehow, this idea that somehow you're going to intellectualize something and then understand how it feels is absolutely ridiculous. To think that you're going to intellectualize, how to hit Roger Federer's forehand, that you could actually think that we would have the arrogance to think that I could then walk on a court and see an incoming ball, even if it's hand fed, and somehow, yeah, okay, there it is.
Yeah, but why couldn't you let go of all the baloney?
But I think that's the challenge of adult living is that idea that somehow we've been so trained as adults, especially now with just the massive amounts of talking information on YouTube and this is how you do it. Here's the secret on how to do it. Here's the 5 steps that to master the Roger Federer forehand. Really? You've got to be out of your mind to think.
However,
you're going to click on that button. You're going to click on that button,
and magically it'll happen.
And 5 steps.
I still think that there is something to be said for. Yeah, I know you remember the old Cybervision stuff with Stan Smith, and kind of the neuromuscular programming that I think is a real thing. I just don't think it's a bunch I don't think it's a bunch of Berkeley, California woo-woo stuff. I actually think it's real. But how much fun would it be to go out there and have some kind of a screen, a monitor, something where you're looking at Roger's, and not that anyone could ever do what Roger does with it. Right. But if there was a way to just go, I wonder what that feels like. And without trying to pick it apart intellectually, and certainly without having someone yakking away, talking. No, you got to get this, man. It's got to be a little 47-degree angle of contact. What?
I can't even remember the last time I told somebody to follow through.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I can't. I think so. There's a little aspect of that, without going too deep off the deep end here. Of Tim Galway, and inner tennis. I mean, there's a big portion of that, allowing yourself to feel what's going on, and then to be able to,
What I want to feel though is I want to feel what that guy over there is doing. I want to see if I can feel, and I'm not sure what the term is, but can I feel what I think he's doing and do it in somewhat slow motion, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, well, look, we'll leave it here.
Okay. Something just turned on.
What?
I'm trying to figure out what just somehow, where is it? There it is. No, is that?
You're here. I see you.
Can you hear that? I can hear.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, guys. Well, listen. I hope if you've hung in with us, you're probably in your 3rd cup of coffee by now, and your mind.
Hopefully there was some value there.
Well, it could be just they go out today. It's going, God, if I ever hook up with that 7 around 7, especially that Jeff Jacklich again, shoot me. All right, guys. Listen, I hope you enjoyed today's ramble with Jeff. As always, would love to hear what's on your mind. Okay. Well, down below in the comment section, let me know. Questions, remarks, comments, criticism, love, whatever it is, down below. You can also direct message me at Facebook. Shoot me an email, Brent@webtennis.com. And I'm sure Jeff would be more than happy to hear from you too. His email is jeff@jacklich365.com. That's it, man. Well, listen, good luck in Irvine. I'm not playing Irvine, by the way. We're heading
you're going to cut out early. You are going to go.
Yeah, no, we're leaving June 1st to go to Steamboat. We'll get there. We'll spend the night somewhere along the road and get there June 2nd. Just kind of felt, I'm ready to go. And, we got a few trees up there on those 6 acres. We got to figure out.
You got to start sharpening that chainsaw now, baby.
That's right. So, but we'll be watching you, and good luck in the tournament. I am going to go play Atlanta. I'm going to go play the Atlanta Senior Invitational, leaving a week from this coming Monday. So, guys, look, if you're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I arrived Monday, May 3rd. My first round is going to be as early as Wednesday, May 5th. So if you're there, show up at the tournament, introduce yourself. Would love to hang out with you, and hopefully not screw up your game any more than I already have.
So side note, because you called me and said, "Hey, come play Atlanta," right? And my dilemma was, is that I decided that the fitness aspect of being in the gym that week was more important than the match play. I feel very comfortable now getting out there tournament match play, and I felt like I need that 6 days of pushing the gym work and feeling that much stronger than going to Atlanta and doing that. So that was my final take on after we talked. It was like I really thought about it and went, not sure that's the right thing to do.
But it would be fun.
Would be fun.
Yeah. So, all right, Jeff, thanks, man. Great hanging out with you as always. Guys, it's that time. You got to get out there, help someone else have a great day. We'll see you again next time.
Right on.